and join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Belzak,
Here.
Gustafson,
Here.
Kenny,
Here.
Legansky, Shower, Stompanato,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
6 present and 1 absent.
We have a quorum. Takes us to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. This is on our agenda for individuals who have something to present to the city council is not on the agenda for the evening. We have a later portion where this could be added, but if somebody wanted to leave the meeting, it gives them an opportunity at the beginning of the meeting to address the council. Anybody in the audience like to address the city council on another issue? Please come forward. Just state your name. And we have, everything's 3 minutes, okay?
Good evening. My name is, this moves. Good evening. My name is Nedinga, and I stand before you today not just as a resident of Darien, but as a mother, a neighbor, and a citizen who has fought for the safety of our town. For 11 years, I've dropped my children off at the same bus stop, a stop that's been in place since 1993. Generations have used it as not just a patch of land, it's a symbol of community, safety, and shared responsibility. But recently, the simple act of parenting has recently been met with hostility, intimidation, and legal overreach. Let me be clear, I have always operated within my legal rights. I have parked respectfully, never obstructing driveways for longer than 5 minutes, and when asked, I have moved. I've never gone past the 15 feet, just walking my dogs or dropping my kids off at the bus stop. Yet I have been shouted at, harassed at, and falsely accused. All of this from one neighbor who has sought to rewrite the story. She has openly admitted to shouting and chasing children away from the area. She has even erected a temporary fence on the village easement, which was temporarily approved through the contradiction to the Darien Municipal Code Section 6-1-2, which forbids unapproved obstructions in the public rights of way. All of this to try to commandeer the land as private property. She even has multiple private cameras pointed out well beyond her private property lines, while Illinois law does not bar recording public walkways from private land. Using those cameras to intimidate or harass, it can run afoul to the state's harassment statute and anti-stalking law. Her possible family ties to the Darien's attorney is used like a shield, persuading police to harass a mother for walking, waving, even standing on public easement. Let me be clear, other neighbors walk this easement daily, joggers, dog walkers, parents with kids without incident. I alone have been singled out. Let's review. Under Illinois law, trespass requires only entering private property after notice. I was on public easement, which landowners maintain, but the public may use. The village municipal official confirmed that 15 to 30 feet of our frontages fall under this easement, and under the First Amendment and Supreme Court precedent from Hague versus CIO to Clark versus Community for Creative Nonviolence, expressive conduct in traditional public forums is protected. Walking, waving, gathering in public areas are rights, not privileges. Is Darien a town that is citing people for waving? Is this Beaumont? Let's be honest, this isn't about fences or sidewalks, it's about control. It's about targeting a single mother with an LGBTQ flag in her yard and signs that challenge the status quo. It's about weaponizing law enforcement to silence expression and to isolate families. Unneighborly behavior is what erodes communities. It's not the children at the bus stop, it's not the mother waving at a camera, it's the hostility, the surveillance, the selective enforcement of laws based on personal bias. So I ask, what will Darien do to protect its citizens from intimidation masked as legality? Will it allow one person to commandeer public space and rewrite decades of shared use? Will we let fear dictate policy? I propose that the city install sidewalks in front of this property to ensure safe passage, that the bus stop remain unchanged, that citations issued under false pretenses be reviewed and dismissed, and that the Darien reaffirm its commitment to equal protection, neighborly conduct, and lawful expression. Let us not be a town that walks backwards in history, but one that walks forward to a brighter, more inclusive, and safe community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come forward. Just state your name.
Gerald Wivenis.
Catherine Witness.
Yeah, we're here just to see what we can do about amending having like recreational or boats parked on driveways during
Boating season.
more of a seasonal issue.
It seems like we're being singled out on our block on Shelley Court, which I'm sure you know who the person is. But anyway,
We would just like to see what it would take to change the, I'm not sure exactly how to state it.
ordinance?
The ordinance that allows, like boats or recreational vehicles to be parked in front of a house on a driveway.
Like during the summer
In a
months.
seasonal manner, from like April through September. I'm not sure what would be required to change the ordinance, because right now they're only allowed on the side of a house or behind.
What kind of recreational vehicle?
It's just a 16-foot boat, it's a fishing boat.
Okay.
But it seems like we're being singled out in our subdivision by our neighbor on our block, because we're the only ones who seem to be getting a letter stating that that the vehicle, or boat needs to be moved versus when we drove around.
Are there other homes that have recreational vehicles in their driveways?
Pardon me?
Are there other homes that have recreational vehicles in their driveways?
Well, there
Yes.
were, and somebody sold theirs just last week, so.
On our block, yes,
On
but in
our
our
block.
subdivision, yes, there are mostly boats that we've seen.
I believe, now, tell me if I'm wrong, Dan, if we ask most people who own boats to have them stored or have them on the side of the house.
That is correct, and then keep in mind, I know we had looked at this situation several times throughout the course of the years before a final ordinance was put in place, and again, whether it's a RV in our world basically means either a boat, any type of watercraft, and or potential trailers that are associated with these. And again, the city council was very clear in adopting the ordinance not to allow any type of these vehicles, recreational vehicles within the front of the driveway. They can store them, park them along the side of the house and or the backyard, provided that they are on a solid block. So that was the extent of it. Unless the city council wants to open up this ordinance for rediscussion again, I will leave it up to your direction, Mayor.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I think when we did this, we said that if somebody was gonna go fishing and they went and got their boat, they could have it on the driveway for like 3 days.
That is correct, yes.
Then 3 days when they come back before they move it to storage again.
To clean it, yes. And again, it's all based on, our code enforcement is vigilant on a monthly basis to look for these types of violations. I have not seen any others that have been in violation of this. If there are, please give me a call. Again, we try to be as courteous as we can, and provide notification, not to punish, but to make sure people are in compliance with the ordinance that's currently in place.
Well, I was just concerned with maybe we could change the ordinance so it should be allowed seasonal from like April through September. Because I get it stored, it's quite a distance away for the winter months, but I would like to keep it on the drive, instead of having the.
While I understand that the ordinance is in place and
Right.
and the mayor would have to direct something here.
Do you have room on the side where you could put a flat surface?
I do, but I got fences in the way, right
And a
now I have a
tree.
garden, and there's a tree now blocking it. I don't see the difference between having it on the side of the house and on a driveway. I mean, I don't get what the problem is.
When we developed the ordinance a number of years ago, I think I was on municipal services when we did that. We actually allowed the side of the house as an add-on. For the most part, we were asking most people to put the boat in storage or the recreational vehicle in storage. And allowing it to be on the side of the house was something we did to assist people like yourself. So, I don't think we're gonna look at changing the ordinance at all unless you wanna delve back, unless the committee wants to look back into it again.
Unless the city council wants a direction, my recommendation is no, just from a simple reason that, there's a lot of residents throughout town that have these types of residential RVs or seasonal, whether it's snowmobiles in the winter, whether it's boats in the summertime. I know that the ordinance has worked, everyone has complied, there has been, where people have the ability to basically find locations, because we spent a lot of, council and staff spent a lot of time
Yeah.
in, putting this together, and it's working, is the best I can say, unless the council again wants to go and revisit anything, but that would not be my recommendation at this time.
We could, Eric?
I get a lot of phone calls from people complaining they don't want boats or RVs parked anywhere on the property. That's the biggest thing I hear. And I have to agree with them. It's an eyesore. You're sitting on your back deck and I'm looking at someone who's got a big RV parked on a block in the backyard. And it's an eyesore. It truly is. I think they should be disallowed on any piece of the property whatsoever.
You know, there were, because of the layout of some homes, there was a particular model, couple models of homes where if people put the RV on the side of the house, people were looking out their dining room window and they were looking right at the RV, depending on the model of the home. I think we were most generous when we developed that ordinance by allowing the side of the house. Doesn't sound like we're gonna be delving into it again.
So I could take it out for like, put it on my drive for 3 days, but that's unlimited, okay? If I put it away on say a Monday, and I can bring it back out on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, put it away till the next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll say, so it's unlimited amount. If I'm gonna use it every week during the summer, I got 3 days a week. Is that understandable?
If you're reading strict, and I'd have
If this
to,
says 3 days, I'm allowed to have it on the
I'd have to double check the ordinance, number one verbatim, but that was not the intent. The intent of it was, if you're going out for, an excursion, you wanna bring your boat home and get it all prepped up for that trip. And you're bringing it back from your trip and now you're cleaning it out for 3 days, so in other words, you're basically. That was not the
Sorry.
intent. The intent of, I'm sorry, that was, again, I don't feel that was the intention of it,
Right.
if it's once a month.
Well, where I keep it stored is it's hours away. I couldn't get it every time I go fishing.
I understand that, again, I'd be more than happy to come out, take a look at any accommodations that we could help with you on the side of the house. Other than that, I'm not sure what else I can tell you, but I'll review the ordinance.
Dan, why don't you give him your number and why don't you communicate tomorrow during the day?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, I appreciate your time.
Or you give Dan your number and we can communicate during the day.
All right,
Okay.
thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. It takes us to approval of the minutes for August 4th, 2025. We have a motion to approve. Alderman Stoppanato, seconded by Alderman Kenny. I know we didn't have time to go through this during the work session. Any questions, comments, anything in there that is incorrect? If not, then the roll.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
Receiving communications, go ahead. Do that. Is there a receiving?
Is there a receiving of communication?
The Stompanato?
Just an update, I met with Commissioner Spiros from the Park District a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Part of our liaison program, we're both liaisons for
Thank you
the
very
Park District and the council. Basically, we went over the notes from our original meeting where we got together. And we'll be meeting again, actually a week from today, or tomorrow. And as we move things forward and get ideas on how we can kind of work together with the Park District, I'll bring those to the council, she'll bring those to her. But that is starting to move forward. I got a nice tour of the community center on Fairview, the back rooms and stuff, which was kind of neat. And I also attended their board meeting last month for just to see how things ran there, and it was very educational. So things are moving on that. I'll have more as we progress.
One of the commissioners told me she was very pleased to have you as the liaison. She said, he really is a nice guy. We really like having him.
It was fun because there was nobody in the audience and they asked for public comments and I kind of looked to my left and my right and then I raised my hand. I said, if nobody else is going to speak, I'd like to, and I basically thanked them for all their support on Darien Fest and the parks and the concert, so.
Thanks for doing that, Ralph.
Yeah, that was, but it was just kind of cute the way it was, you know.
Alderman Gustafson.
Yeah, I've been getting calls from numerous residents regarding their concerns in respect to groups of individuals hanging outside of Walmart and Home Depot. And I asked the police chief to take a look into this, and he did, and he's going to be communicating this later in the meeting.
Okay. Mary?
Okay, thank you. I've been receiving ongoing communications from residents along Bailey Road, but mostly focused in the Bailey Park townhome area about the electronic bikes. But now it's a different situation where it's actually, I guess I would quantify it, I have not seen these, but dirt bikes. So they're not even like e-bikes, they're dirt bikes. It appears to be a pack of 4 youths, fully dressed like in dirt bike gear with helmets on, flying through the neighborhood, flying through yards, very reckless, high speeds, and if they do slow down, they're being very disrespectful. I know the police has been called several times, videos have been shown. So I guess just in general, obviously Darien has a new e-scooter, e-bike policy. I know the police, I've exchanged emails and they're doing their best to get the word out, to reach out to the schools, get the flyer in the right hands, but, educate. I think our schools need to help us educate the students, but I guess my plea is to the parents. These, young people, most likely in the age group of 12 to 15, are not going out and buying these devices. They are being bought for them. And these young people are not trained. They don't even know the rules of the road. It is dangerous. It is scary. And I think all of us collectively can agree, none of us wants to be the driver in the car that potentially comes in contact with the reckless driving, high-speed driving dirt bike or e-bike. So I guess I'm just imploring to parents to please take note that these devices are very likely not legal by the state of Illinois and the city of Darien, and also educate your children on, proper rules of the road. But yeah, there's some very terrified, I guess is the right word, residents in Bailey Park with what's going on, and they're, the police is trying their best to find these young people, but it's hard because as soon as, they get the call and as soon as they get there, they're gone, they've moved on. So maybe other residents, if you know of where these, children live or their bikes are at or where you see them, please call the police so we can assist in getting this safety situation under control. Next is I do have a resident that's been going back and forth with me and the police in a condo building off of Frontage Road near Carriage Greens. She has a parking dilemma. She was hoping the city could make an exception to the overnight parking rule. Obviously, that's something we cannot do. We've been talking through different scenarios, trying to get her homeowners group to work with her, maybe, renting or accessing an extra space in the building. But, I tried to explain to her, and just like with the boating conversation tonight, that, when there's an ordinance and a code, the police have to enforce it. And, we're not looking to make a change at this time to the overnight 2 to 6 a.m. parking ban. Street
Anyone
parking.
else? I have an announcement I received. This is a very nice letter. I received this letter beginning of August, and because we canceled one of our meetings, I haven't been able to read it. But it says, "Dear Mr. Mayor, my wife and I have lived in Darien since 1979, and it has indeed been more than just a nice place to live. It has been a great place to live. All our dealings with the city have been excellent. Recently, even those high standards were surpassed by 2 individuals, and we believe you should know about their actions. The first is Miss Diane Novarini. My wife had spinal surgery at the end of March and was having trouble getting in and out of bed. I called the office and Miss Novarini was not only attentive, but she immediately found a bed crib from the lending closet. My wife's recovery was clearly much easier due to that. The second is Dave, and I think this is Dave from our Public Works.
Not sure what it's in contents to, but
They didn't know his last name.
Okay.
While repairing a leak on 71st Street, the city services damaged our lawn sprinkler system. When we called the city, he was very receptive and said the city would reimburse us for the repairs. Dave came to our home repeatedly to check, pick up the repair bill, and then to bring us the reimbursement. His efforts were clearly above and beyond what one expects. Finally, as an aside, LRS, the garbage service, is excellent. They are polite, professional, and prompt. So I thought nice to get letters like this. All right. It takes us to the mayor's report, and tonight we're going to hear from Mr. Jason Franken from Foster & Foster, who's going to give us an update on our police pension fund. Jason?
Thanks for having me this evening. I'm here to discuss the May 1st, 2025 actuarial evaluation report. On page 5 of the report, we have a summary of this year's results. On the page, you'll notice that the right-hand column are last year's results, and the left-hand column is this year's results. We measure the liabilities and the assets of the pension plan each year as of May 1st, and determine the amount that the city has to contribute based on an actuarial basis to start closing the gap to reach 100% funding, to make sure that all of the payments that are due, when they come due, there's money available to make those payments. On page 5, the first section of the page, the top section, you'll see we have the accrued liability. That's the total liability of all of the pension payments that the plan has as of this moment. You'll see that last year was 66 million. This year it increased to 68.6 million. So it increases, this number changes in a couple of ways. One, there's interest. Each year we have a 6.8% interest rate. So as you get 1 year each year passes, that liability increases with interest. Then you have the normal costs. Those are new benefits that are earned by active employees. And then this number is actually decreases each year by the benefit payments that are going out. Once you make a benefit payment, you no longer owe the retiree that money, so your liability goes down. So in general, you can expect this number to go up. This year you can see it went up by almost $2 million or $3 million. Then the actuarial value of assets. That's the asset value in the plan, but it's based on a 5-year smoothed approach, meaning that we smooth investment gains and losses over a 5-year period to eliminate some of the volatility that comes with the market. That asset value increased from 37.2 million to 39.3. The return for the year was strong. It was 9.79. We were expecting 6.8%, so we earned more, so we had an investment gain for the year. But on a smooth basis, the return was actually only 6.6% versus the 6.8 we were assuming. And that's because there were 2 years, 2022, that calendar year, the returns were very poor. So that affected, 2 fiscal years. And so we had losses in those 2 fiscal years that we're still recognizing. And so even though we had a strong market return on a smooth basis, the one that affects your actuarial calculations, you did fall just slightly below the target at 6.6%. So in terms of the unfunded liability, you'll see that there was an increase from 28.7 to $29.3 million. Our funded ratio did go up. Went from 56.4% to 57.3%. In terms of the contribution requirement, The normal cost, that's those benefits that are earned by active employees, it actually went down for the year from 984 to 946,000. And that was because as of the valuation date on May 1st, we had 3 less active employees this year than what we had last year. So there was a slight decrease there. The administrative expenses were pretty much unchanged. And so the amortization payment went up by $158,000. About half of that is an annual increase to your amortization payments that is part of the Illinois pension ramp. So like I said, about half, or nearly about $78,000 is just the natural escalation in the pension cost based on the methodology that's been put in the Illinois pension code. The others were just there were minor increases here and there for there was a slight mortality loss, meaning people lived a little bit longer than expected. I mentioned the slight investment loss. But like I said, most of the increase, or about half of it, is attributable to just the natural escalation that's built into the model. So from a recommendation perspective, the total, is the sum of those 3 pieces, and then we offset that with member contributions. The members contribute 9.91% of their pay. We offset that total to get to the recommended contribution. And keep in mind, we are recommending this based on funding to a 100%, so paying off our entire bill. The state does allow, the state requires that you fund to 90%, and you are contributing more than what's required by the state. Because it's more fiscally responsible to fund the entire liability rather than just 90% of it. The next section shows you the same contribution requirements, but as a percentage of payroll. You'll see that as a percentage of payroll, it went up by about almost 6%. And the reason it went up by 6% is that the payroll for the department actually went down by 120,000. We were expecting it to go up by 130,000. So the payroll this year is about $250,000 less than what we were expecting. And so when your denominator is a smaller number, the percentage is higher. And so that's why, if you're just looking at it as a percentage, it looks like a pretty steep increase. But as I said, it really has more to do with the payroll being less than expected. If you flip to page 12, I just want to look at the bottom set of numbers. This shows you a 5-year history of the market returns, and then those 5-year smooth returns. You'll see in 2021 you had a banner year. You got over 25%. And on a smooth basis, based on the 4 years prior to that, the smooth return was over 9.1%. Then the next 2 years, compared to our 7%, we fell well below our target. And like I said, that was really the 22 calendar year. The return was miserable. And so you had 2 years of losses, and then 2 solid years that are near 10%. You'll see the actuarial smooth return, the actuarial value, it was hovering around 5%. It's back up to 6%, 6.6% this year. Hopefully, we'll have another good year this year, and we'll end up, exceeding our target of 6.8%, which would, help contribute to a lower unfunded liability and contribution requirement going forward. But as I mentioned, there is that escalation that's built in. So all things being, what we assume, we would still expect our contribution to go up by about $80,000 per year. So it's not something where you get your 6.8% return and your contribution requirement's going to go down. It's going to continue to go up. Just based on, like I said, the pension ramp that's in place. So with that, I'll turn it over to you for any questions that you may have.
Jason, one of the things I like to make clear for the audience and for people who might be watching this, I know you said it, but I want to repeat it. Several years ago, the state of Illinois took control of our pension funds. While we still have a pension board, the investment decisions are made by the state of Illinois, not by the city of Darien. So how much money is in equity versus bonds?
It's not made by the state, it's made by that independent board that's
Right.
managing it.
But I want to make sure people understand that, you know, when you say there's a gain or a loss, that's because of the way the investment's going at the state level, by this pension board. I think there's a group of people that sit on there, they're all elected mayors like myself. In fact, I know one of them who's on and it's separated, the fire separated from the police.
That's correct.
My concern, and I think the concern of this council, is since Michael has been treasurer, which is what, 16 years? 18 years, we have put in 100% of the actuarial recommendation. And yet the percent that we're funded has gone from like 61%.
61 down to 57% over 16 years, but who's counting?
And we can only, you know, we jumped $400,000 in terms of our contribution this year, and we're probably looking at jumping another 400,000 the following year. So even in a good investment year, we're gonna see these large ramp increases in our pension fund. Any advice you can give us that might assist us with that?
Well, the one thing that I would suggest is that the pension contributions that you've made have been driven or determined in most cases, other than the 90%, by the amortization period that's been in the Illinois Pension Code. It's currently 2040. In 2011, it was reset to a 30-year amortization. And when that reset happens and you go from a 15-year amortization to a 30-year amortization, you get the benefit of a contribution requirement that goes down significantly. But what happens is that new contribution, there's negative amortization occurring, meaning that the payments aren't large enough to cover the interest on your unfunded liability. And so when that happens, your unfunded liability grows. And, you know, when you reset it to 30, there's, 10 to 12 years where you're making payments that are making the hole bigger. And so my recommendation is that there's been proposed legislation each of the last couple of years to reset that amortization period to some point in the future. My recommendation would be, don't do that, because you're just going to put yourself on a path for increasing unfunded liability. You don't have to continue to, we're at a 16-year amortization period now. You don't have to get down to 5 or 10, but don't extend it to 25 or 30 or 35 years, because it's going to, end up putting you in a much worse situation, 10, 12 years from now. And so if and when that extension occurs, I recommend having a discussion on an approach that is not going to, because right now you're at a 16-year amortization, you're going to start, your payments are going to start making, much more, making up more ground now than they did 5, 10 years ago, because the payments, as you mentioned, are larger. So they're paying down more of your unfunded liability. And so I suggest that you find a funding policy that works best for you, and not just follow the lead of a law change that's occurring in Springfield that doesn't necessarily have your best interest in mind. It's really, the changes to the code are made for those communities that are 20-25% funded, to help them meet the obligation. And they're not necessarily designed for communities like yours where, you're 60%, nearly 60% funded. You're in much better shape than many of the plans where those laws are, many of those communities that the laws are written for.
Jason, right now our funding liability is at 68 million, okay?
Your accrued liability?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. In 2016, it was 42 million. We're outpacing inflation, what, by 3-4 times?
Well, but it's.
It's gone up 60% in 10 years.
Yeah, but it's not a number that's, you know, you can't compare it to inflation because
That's fine.
there's a whole bunch of new benefits. There's benefits that are being accrued. It's not the same, it's not the same pool of assets that's increasing by inflation. It's increasing by new benefits that are being earned. It's being decreased by benefit payments that are being made. So, you know, that's not a comparison that I usually think
Well, I
of.
can understand that, but you're looking at an amount that's just, it's unsustainable at one point. And that's where I look at it when it's gone up, basically for all intents and purposes, $27 million. And as the mayor said, our funding ratio is at 57. I know where you stand at, I get it, okay? You're looking at the numbers, that's your job, I understand it. But we're looking at this situation where the state of Illinois, until they can turn around and come back with a number that's set in stone for us, and it's not going to be, and I'm not just talking the city of Darien, I'm talking pretty much any municipality, how are we gonna get there? And that's the question that we ask ourselves every year, you know? Now we're, over $3 million that we're gonna fund this year, guess what? And we're still not even close to 60%. Back in I've said it a million times, back in 2009, when I first started here, we were at 900,000, we were at 61%. So the numbers are gonna continue to change, and until the state of Illinois comes back and says, this is your bogey, we're gonna run into this issue. I'm venting more than anything at this moment, so.
Yep. I mean, yeah, like I said, that, you know, there's that escalation that's built in. And so there's an increase that's going to continue to occur. The only way to change, to eliminate is to move to a different model. And, rather than have something escalating, it would take more upfront. So rather than 3.1, you might need 3.5 or whatever the number might be. And that changes the model, and then rather than having it increasing, it's gonna stay flat or even, trend downward.
Jason, would you recommend an open amortization versus a closed?
Yeah, I would. Mostly, and the dip, for those that don't know, an open amortization is, we're at a 16-year period. I would say, let's get down to 15 years, and then keep your amortization at 15 years. Rather than continue to go 15, 14, 13, 12, so on, versus, that's what a closed is, where you continue to go down, each year until you get to zero. And the current model it's closed, but it's not really closed because of those extensions that occur. And so I would rather keep your amortization at 15 years every year going forward. Then, one of the variables is eliminated. Part of the reason your contribution goes up is, now each year we have one less year to amortize. Next year it's going to be 15 years. So even if you have a gain, you have one less year to work with. If it's always 15, well then, that part of it is gone. So it does create some more stability. And, if your unfunded liability goes up, your contribution is going to go up, but it's not going up because you have one less year of amortizing to do. And the reason, I say I'd rather keep it at 15 is, as I mentioned earlier, if you extend it to 30 years, now you have 10 or 15 years where your payments are going to be less than what they should. And so I'm of the opinion that a 15-year amortization every year is much better than the alternative of extending it to, going from 30 down to 16 and then 30 down to 16, which is what happens. And we keep digging a bigger and bigger hole. We just keep it at 15 years, and now, your payments are higher than they would be, but in order to make up ground, in order to eliminate that unfunded liability and start have the contribution trending downwards, you need to have larger payments.
Michael, you want to?
Yeah, I agree with most of what you're saying, Jason, but sometimes I get a little frustrated the council's been gracious enough, like Joe said, over my entire term here, we've been funding it at 100%, and yet our funded ratio has been decreasing. Why? Yes, you're right, the amount that we have to put in is going up, but our hands are basically tied by what the state determines. We said right now we have to fund it 90% by 2040. They're talking about 2050 or open amortization or some monkey business in between there. But also what's happened over the period of time, just last year, the Illinois legislature started toying with the idea. In 2011, they amended the pensions. They said, okay, if you start work before 2011, your pension is going to be under Table A. If you started after 2011, it was going to be under Table B, which was less generous, and it helped make the pension a little bit more funded, more reasonable, and people going into it realized that. All of a sudden, the people that started after 2011 now are complaining and saying, hey, we want to be the same as the people hired before 2011. That was the those were the pension adjustments that were made at that time, and now the legislature is toying with the idea, yeah, everybody should be the same, which is going to cause our contribution to go up again. So no matter what we decide here, the state keeps making these changes. You, a few years ago, and I don't know if it was single-handedly or not, but you said, hey, we have new mortality tables. People are living longer, which I understand. You throw those into there, all of a sudden our contribution's going up. So much of it is out of our control, as much as we try and be fiscally responsible in funding it at 100%, no matter what we do. Last year, you changed the investment return from 7% to 6.8, which caused a $300,000 increase, if I'm remembering the number correctly, in what we had to pay. This year, it conveniently didn't go up as dramatically, but mainly because we were down a couple officers at the measurement date at April 30th. Like you said, we were down either 2 or 3 officers. So our liability, naturally, we have 2 or 3 less officers. We want to get these officers, we're trying to get them on board, but because of that snapshot for this particular year, we happen to be down. Next year, if we're at full force again, that number will be up again. I mean, you're just dealing with the numbers that you're given, I understand that. But again, my frustration, and I think the board's frustration, is no matter what we do, Ted, yeah, we're funding it at 100%, but what good is it doing? We're not making any progress because the state
I know
is.
you can't control it, but the state's gonna change the goalposts day in and day out, or year in and year out. What can you do?
And that's why at some point, the municipalities are gonna throw up their hands. Why should we be good guys? Why shouldn't we fund it at 90% and use more of the dollars for our local residents here? I agree. I mean, I'm still suggesting we pay it at
The answer to
100%.
that question is because it's gonna cost you more over the long term. You know, pay now or pay later.
Yeah,
And when you're paying later, you're paying
But-
compound interest on all that money that you didn't pay. So that's the answer to
The
that
problem is at a higher level than ours, though, is all I'm saying. It's
Right.
really sort of.
Yeah, and you mentioned, and maybe I missed this, but they actually did already change the tier 2 benefits as part of the consolidation.
They already improved them, but they want to improve them even further.
Yeah. So you may have, and I just missed it maybe, but yeah, as part of the consolidation, there was an adjustment made to the tier 2 benefits that narrowed the gap between tier 2 and tier 1. It wasn't.
And they meet safe harbor. Currently, Chicago wasn't meeting safe harbor, but most suburban communities were meeting safe harbor.
Yes, so there's the Social Security safe harbor, and that what that is for a person receiving a public pension benefit. They are not required. Communities at some point in time were able to make a decision whether or not they wanted to participate in Social Security, and people could opt out of Social Security for their employees and say, we're providing this public pension benefit. We do not have to participate in Social Security, and so they don't have to make the Social Security contributions on behalf of their members. But there is a safe harbor requirement saying that in order to be exempt from participating in Social Security, your pension benefit has to meet it has to meet these criteria. It has to exceed the threshold, these thresholds that are out there that allow you to be exempt. And long story short is that when they did the tier 2 benefits back in 2010 is when they came up with them effective 1/1/11. There were parts of tier 2 benefits that did not meet the Social Security safe harbor threshold. And so the biggest issue is the pay cap, the pay cap for tier 2. It's too low relative to the Social Security wage base. And so there's a big problem in the state with this. It's more at the state teacher plan level in some of those plans. It's not as big of an issue for your plan primarily because of that benefit improvement that I mentioned that occurred in 2020 as part of the consolidation. They fixed most of it at that point. They didn't go all the way, so a few decades down the road, it's probably going to resurface as an issue, but it's not an issue for your plan specifically. But for the state plans, there's going to be billions of dollars of unfunded liability added to those pension plans because of the fix that needs to occur to meet these safe harbor rules.
I don't want to belabor this. I know there's a lot of questions. This is something really critical for us because we're looking at another major increase. I talked to other mayors because this tier 1, tier 2 is something we talk about a lot today. I discussed it with Representative Avalar, and she said it's probably going to come up again in the spring session of the state legislature. But my fellow mayors, a number of them have told me who have foster and foster, that they've asked you to present to them an analysis of what it would cost them if tier 2 all of a sudden became tier 1. Are you familiar with?
Yeah, we've done that for a number of communities as well as various organizations. We've worked with some of the organizations in Springfield that the COTFA, for example. We've analyzed these changes for them as well.
I don't know how you feel about it, Michael, but I would almost like to have that analysis done.
Well, I don't know what good it would do. I mean, not complaining about Jason, but we did ask him to do a calculation like that last year, if you remember. I believe it was for the 10-year additional amortization period or whatever, but it does cost several $1,000s. And obviously, he's not working for free. And in my mind, it doesn't make any difference whether Darien complains to the state of Illinois and says, we're unhappy with this, and is it gonna make any difference in their attitude about it? If everybody works.
The only reason I mention it is DuPage mayors and managers would like to have that data when we go down and we lobby down in Springfield. That if we could show what municipalities are gonna have to pay in terms of additional costs, maybe some state legislators would change their mind about it. Because right now, there's a big push, and I gotta be honest with you, there's a real big push to eliminate tier 2.
Probably gonna happen.
I would almost guarantee it will happen, no matter what.
I mean,
we
it
do
happened
there.
in Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Back to square
is
one.
good, Anyway, any other questions for Jason? Our audience probably is really enjoying this discussion. This is actually a young man who enjoys numbers more than Mike does. Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
All right. Jason. Well, I would be remiss if I did not introduce our mayor for the day, Michael Hazu. Michael is a 7th grader at Kingswood Academy. And today during the day, he won, or his parents bid on him being mayor for the day. And we've done this a couple times before, primarily with Kingswood Academy. And Michael's mom and dad were most generous and provided him this opportunity. This afternoon, he met with John Carr and learned all about all the equipment that we have at Public Works. And then he spent almost an hour and a half to 2 hours with the police department with Officer O'Brien. And I went out there and I listened to a lot of the questions he asked. He got a chance to sit in the police car. And so we're very honored to have him with us tonight. He and I did not have a chance to talk about the agenda as much. Normally, I let him sit in this seat and I let him run the meeting. So I'm trying to let him do some things tonight to make him feel pretty good, so we're gonna let you ask the city clerk.
I asked for the city clerk report.
I have no report this evening, Mayor.
Okay,
I asked for the city administrator's report.
No report, thank you.
I asked for the department head of information / questions
that's good, Chief.
and the police department monthly report.
Yes.
I do have a little bit of report.
Good job.
Thank you.
Wait for the TVs.
Dan, can you turn that monitor so the audience could see it?
So there's been a number of questions raised over a period of time, so a couple of them were discussed today, the difference between e-motorcycles, e-bikes, e-scooters, and then the issues with the roadies, so we'll talk through those. You'll see in the, I guess that would be foreground of the squad, that's about 20 e-motorcycles, and there's a significant difference between an e-bike and an e-motorcycle. And a lot of times people are complaining about the e-bikes. Even tonight, there was a conversation about the e-bikes. Most of the time, it's an e-motorcycle, and so we'll talk about that. So obviously, these guys are going down 75th Street, not paying attention to too many of the laws, obviously not paying attention to the squad car with lights on, and going about their business, not stopping. So the ordinance, as Alderman Sullivan pointed out, there is a part of the ordinance that does talk about e-motorcycles. For the most part, we're not going to charge e-motorcycles under a local ordinance. There's significant difference in the penalties and significant issues with parental responsibility. So it's much better to charge under the state. And Alderman Sullivan brought up a number of issues about not buying these devices. If you wouldn't buy your kid a Tesla, do not buy them an e-motorcycle. It's virtually the same thing, maybe the cost. But in the eyes of the law, to drive a Tesla, you have to have a driver's license. In order to drive an e-motorcycle, you have to have a driver's license, and with a M classification. To drive a Tesla, you have to have insurance. To drive an e-motorcycle, you have to have insurance. To drive a Tesla, you have to have registration. To drive an e-motorcycle, it has to be registered. If it's not street legal, like some of those dirt bikes that were referred to, don't drive them on the street. So I did a little number. So no valid DL, no valid insurance, no valid registration, seizing the vehicle, towing the vehicle, other violations. So if any one of those vehicles, those motorcycles were stopped, that would have been a $1,667 fine. So any parents out there, that was a great comment, Alderman. Take them away, sell them on eBay, do whatever, but do not let your child drive those things. Do not let them be on the roadway. They're a violation, they're a hazard. We don't want anybody getting hurt. E-bikes are different. We talked about that before. They, probably the biggest comment that I've gotten, and Deputy Chief Jump, who runs operations, has gotten, is this issue with age restriction. So public needs to understand that when you pass, this body passed that e-bike ordinance and e-scooter ordinance, it mirrored the state law. So again, you can't make anything more permissive, you can make it more restrictive. So the issue with e-scooters requiring a person to be 18 years of age and the e-bike requiring somebody to be 16 years of age, that is a state law. You can't change that. The only real difference between what the state law and what the city ordinance is has to deal with location, where you can ride the device. So once the ordinance was passed, we came out with a flyer. We've been to drop off and pick up locations with students going to school and National Night Out and other events that we've passed out these flyers. So hopefully getting them into the hands of parents so they understand what the rules are, and hopefully again, do not let their child ride these things when they're not of legal age or have the temperament to drive lawfully. And e-motorcycle, they said those are very restricted by state statute in the process. There it is. We had about 43 calls for service for e-bikes or more e-motorcycle. We've written 3 violations and wrote parental responsibility goes on a document called Notice to Appear, NTA, and we've done 2 of those. All right. Any questions on e-bikes or e-motorcycles?
The footage you showed, obviously with the pack of kids flying down 75th Street, was there any opportunity, I mean, obviously lights on, to corral them or to get back up?
We're not gonna use stop sticks, we're not gonna use a pit maneuver, we're not gonna do any of those things to harm any of those kids. So it's really based on whether or not they're going to stop, or we get a sufficient number of officers, or the drone in the air fast enough.
Okay.
And we haven't been successful. Sorry.
For underage driving of either of those vehicles, are the vehicles impounded
Yes,
when that happens?
can be, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And then obviously there's an expense to the
Right,
parent or
and that was
whoever.
included in
That
that
was included in that,
$1,600.
Okay, and if a
$500
15 or a 14-year-old gets caught driving these, does that impact their ability to get a license in the future?
Can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point. Should have had it in my notes, but I forgot. Appreciate it. Awesome. There's been some issues on 67th Street. We're have that as a directed patrol. But in that email string that some of you might have been on, there was some conversation about overtaking and passing a stopped school bus. And then the individual said that, well, he thinks that it is a violation. It is not a violation. That question that was answered actually in a court case with Franklin, Illinois. So approaching and overtaking a school bus, the driver of vehicle shall stop, not slow down, not yield. It says stop before overtaking from either direction any stopped school bus. When a school bus is have the visual sign or signals in operation. You don't get to pass that stopped school bus unless one of 3 things happen. The bus resumes motion, starts moving. The driver signals the driver that they can pass, or there's the visual signs are no longer illuminated. They've turned off the stop sign and are flashing lights and pulled back in the stop sign.
Right.
Yes.
When you say visual signals, when a school bus is getting ready to stop, it starts its yellow lights before it puts the stop sign out. Are the yellow signs, the yellow flashing considered the visual signal, or is it the stop signs
The stop
themselves?
signs.
Stop signs.
So it's just the same thing, it's a caution, and testified at a lot of trials and stuff, and I think a judge said it at the time, the yellow light is to clear the intersection, not to enter the intersection. The same thing here, that bus is going to stop pretty soon. So don't speed up and try to get through in that yellow. Understand that those lights are going, that bus is gonna come to a stop, and that stop arm's gonna come out, which is gonna turn the yellows to red, flashing yellows to red.
Thank you.
And I know it's for the 2-lane roadway, so say like a Plainfield Road where it's 4-lane. If you're on the outside, you can continue to go. You don't have to stop.
Well, I'm not sure your language on the outside. If you are on the opposite direction,
Opposite
you
direction.
do not have
Yeah.
to stop.
So like
If
say,
you're in
yeah,
the
you're,
same direction,
like the bus is going eastbound, but you're coming westbound. But if you're not in the inner lane, you're in the outer lane, you can continue
it's
to go.
divided, the rules actually a divided highway, but
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
I usually stop, but I know there's some people, then they start
A lot
honking.
of people get frustrated because you're stopped, but you don't have to, so they're behind you honking. Same direction, even though you have multiple
Right.
lanes.
You gotta stop.
You still have to stop.
Great.
Correct. Regarding Alderman Gustafson with the roadie, so late July, I probably have the date, 23rd, the management of the parking lot at the Walmart, the Home Depot, what else is there, TGI's, Fridays, and some other stuff that's there, contacted us regarding a group of vehicles, like 50 vehicles, 60 vehicles that were parked there. And what had happened was that apparently there's an app for roadies, and so if you want deliveries made that you can't fulfill yourself, UPS or whomever else is making those deliveries, and then they can use this app. And what happens is that roadies were told, it's called geofencing, there's a lot of technology to this thing, and I'm not gonna get into, that tells them where they should park. And so they were directed to park at this location in order to get to UPS, in order to pick up the packages, in order to go deliver them. So we met with the impacted businesses, we met with the company roadies, we met with UPS, and PetSmart maybe?
Yes.
There's another agency that was using roadies, and met with the drivers. And again, we've talked a number of times here about trying to resolve a problem, just like your parking issue, versus issuing citations, and in order to try to fix it. So there was a lot of conversations back and forth. Unfortunately, we did not come to a resolution, so we started issuing citations. We wrote 60 such citations for parking there, and 3 citations for littering. Since August 8th, issue's been pretty much settled. We don't get any additional calls. We check on it daily. It usually starts around 4 o'clock in the morning and stays till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's pretty much resolved. So any other issues, just give us a call and we'll take a look. But the management companies of those buildings were very satisfied with what we tried to help them with. Another issue. I
If
think I
people
gave-
see them
Sorry?
congregated out there, they should call the police then?
Yeah, you can call 911. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, for the most part, those are done. I went through there this morning, there was nobody there.
okay.
The police social worker, I think I gave an update maybe 2 weeks after she was here and how well she was doing. Now it's been a few months, so just another quick update. She makes home visits, does just a tremendous amount of work for us. assist with a number of placements, a number of work that she does herself. And so it's just really turned out very well. If you recall, we went with 3 other agencies in order to hire a social worker. I said at the time that we'll see how fast this explodes and moves forward, and it really moved forward very fast. So we're entering an agreement to have her full-time, and that should, Nedfis, the director was trying to get that done before August. It didn't happen. I think we have a phone conversation, a Zoom meeting this week sometime, I don't remember the date, to discuss it further, but we're gonna go full-time, because she's just doing very well. Probably about 1 out of 5 referrals, and we're at 136 or whatever. About 1 out of 5 takes her up on that referral, so it's really doing well. She's going to be at the school tomorrow, or library tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. Just a day off with the holiday, messed me up. So she'll be at the library tomorrow from at 7 o'clock as part of our normal outreach using the library. So she'll be there to discuss what she does. And then and next, the first Wednesday of the month, October 1st, Illinois State Police is going to be at the library and talk about what they do and how they deliver services. Another issue that comes up fairly frequently is the loud music at the golf course, and we had a couple calls yesterday on it, and we were checked on it before 10, and the noise was reasonable, and after 10 it was shut off. So right at 10 o'clock it was shut off, so that worked out well. The monthly report, all the statistical stuff I won't go through. You can, if you have any questions, I'll discuss it. Steve List, longtime officer with the police department, is retiring. His last working day is the Friday, the 5th. His last day on the books is the 12th. He's got some vacation time or personal time to burn up, so he's going to be gone. Brett Glom is number 1 on the promotional list, and went to the Fire Police Commission today, and they agreed to promote him, so he'll be promoted effective the 6th. Also in that packet, you saw that we had a successful criminal case against an individual for drug-induced homicide, and the detectives worked hard on a sexual assault. The person lived in the city, that's how we got involved, but the assault didn't occur here. So it was multiple agency, in fact, agency in Indiana too, so multiple state teamed up to make sure that justice is served there. So, Mayor, that's my report, unless you have any questions.
A quick question.
I think our mayor for the day has a question, Chief.
Awesome.
My question is,
Real loud.
Thanks.
I forgot.
Well, you'll remember, and then you can ask me. All right?
Remember we'll ask him.
Just regard, there was a individual that came up and spoke earlier about issues at a bus stop and some harassment and stuff. I'm assuming the police department is involved in that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
And, her case, I think, is the 11th. So there's nothing for us to do until she goes to trial. All right, thanks.
Mr.
I think he's got his question.
Yeah, Mr. Gombach, do you have any more updates?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Glad someone asked me finally. A couple things. First of all, on the Plainfield retaining wall project, I just want to let the city council know we're going to be closing on our last land deal, if you wanna say, this Friday. So part one of a year-long process is finally coming to play, and meanwhile, we're finishing up the actual plans, and we're working with comment on relocation of some poles. And your way upstairs, if you look upstairs, is part of a fence, if you wanna say, that fence is the actual panels, what they will look like themselves. On top of those panels, and I'm working with an engineer, out-of-state engineer, architect, the top of the panel, above the panel, I should say, will be lattice work. That lattice will be basically a metal type of work, and then on top of that will be another board. So it's really will look sharp. The visual effect of the board on board will be on both sides, so the residents on the back side will see it, and the motorists, patrons of the city will also see it on their side.
Yeah, we're going 8 feet on that, right? Or-
Correct, 8
Okay.
feet, yes, so, again, a construction schedule, one of them looking at potential winter construction. I think a lot of it has to do with ComEd and their timing, so we'll keep everybody abreast, but I'm, very happy that we get the land acquisitions all behind us, knock on wood, after this Friday. The second thing is, I've been working with MetroNet, and MetroNet is now part of T-Mobile. What the actual name is, I don't know. And I'm referring to this as the fiber optic for dummies. So we're looking at putting something together at the library, and MetroNet and the library and T-Mobile will be announcing something very soon for residents to be able to go to the library on a presentation. Depending on how the presentation goes, I believe the hours are gonna be from 4 to 6:30, but MetroNet will also stay longer along with T-Mobile, basically telling residents what fiber optic does, what opportunities there are, how do you use it, and again, basically, it's a fiber optic cable that's utilized for telephone service and streaming. So again, stay tuned for that. We'll put it on Direct Connect. I think a lot of people will really appreciate that. That's all I have.
Mary?
Oh, let him go first.
Thank you. I have noticed some e-motorcycle activity at Concord School in the back. There are a pack of 3 kids who ride their e-bikes through and go into the parking lots by Q Bar and stuff like that here.
I will let my peer address that for you.
Yeah, anytime you see that occurring, dial 911, so you can try to do an investigation. If it's a regular occurring thing, then we can set up there and try to catch somebody.
They go through our neighborhood, they ride on our streets in the neighborhood. I've seen them. They like hop onto these roads, stuff like that.
You're welcome.
Mary?
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. I know I've gotten outreach by a lot of neighbors and people in Ward 5 regarding the repair to ground, the displacement of landscaping by MetroNet. And I provided you with a series of addresses, and more have come in. And it does sound like the superintendent has gone out and looked at the ground, reassessed, talked with residents about plans to, if the, seed and straw method doesn't work, about replacing with sod, and I know they've done that in a couple cases. So I don't know, what is your recommendation to residents? The best method to do is, if they're unhappy, is it to contact their alderperson? Is it to contact City Hall, to send an email? What do you think is the best mode of communication?
The best opportunity is to contact City Hall. So first of all, we can vet the actual phone call and make sure it was MetroNet. In some cases, it might be other agencies, but nonetheless, I have to say that Scott Carl is the person that's been responsible for the project, has been very accommodating and meeting with residents and calling residents in regards to restoration that is not taken yet. So again, there's residents out there that have had a bad situation, whether it's a broken sprinkler line, restoration that is not taken, or something to do with the construction activity and the infrastructure. Give us a call. You can call myself directly at 630-353-8106, or my assistant Regina at 630-353-8106. Poor Brian Van, I'm just
I got a few too, but they do get passed on right away.
Actually, I'm very happy with, I think some of the protocols that have been set in place. And it's my understanding the, Loomis, has now basically, stepped back and are not currently, on the schedule to come into town. So I'm not sure what that means exactly, whether it's something to do with overbuilding. But there's been no more information as of a couple of weeks ago, but they're not moving forward at this point.
Dan, can you mention the date again for the meeting at the library?
I don't have it yet. I'm waiting for the PR, press release to come out. Once that press release comes out, we'll put it in Direct Connect as well as all of our media portals, more portals.
Is that meeting gonna clarify for people that if they get MetroNet, what they might lose with Comcast and vice versa?
Yes, yes.
Because I had somebody that asked the other day, if I get MetroNet, I get the fiber, do I get rid of Comcast? And I said, I'm not sure.
And that's more than I can tell you myself. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I have another question. So we have been having problems with our internet too, especially using T-Mobile, because that's what we use, and it's,
You have T-Mobile for,
yeah.
couldn't tell you one way or the other who to call. Best thing I can tell you is if you have T-Mobile currently, and you have those services, look out for this, meeting, public education at the library, and I think your question will be answered.
We'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Hey, Dan, when does the Shell station go under construction?
I'm not sure yet what their timing. I think
Okay.
the permits, I know the permits have come in, I just don't know the status of it at this point.
Is it either gonna break ground this year or?
Supposed to, yes.
All right, that takes us to the treasurer's report. Treasurer Cloran.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 252608 in the amount of $779,481.69 from the listed funds. Payroll for the period ended August 7th in the amount of $332,579.23 for a total to be approved of $1,112,060.92.
Motion to approve. Alderman Sullivan, second by Alderman Belzak. Questions or comments regarding them?
One comment. On the warrant for this, there is an item on here for Zazo lunch for $444.09. If anybody's asking about it, our Public Works does an amazing job, and Dan brought it to their attention because of the storm cleanup that they've been doing, they've been going above and beyond. Public Works, paid for the lunch. So if anybody wants to question that, I always go through these things, but my hat's off to you, sir.
Thank you, Alderman Kenny, and just to expound on that, what that is, again, it was a luncheon for the guys, for the Public Works guys, and what it had to do is, there's certain times throughout the year where the guys go above and beyond, where, with the heat, working, anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day, and in this particular case, we had that microburst that came in through town, so it was just a recognition of their hard work, and being, dragging branches from residents' private yard and just taking that initiative to help them out. So that's what that was for.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The roll.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Stampanato.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
Warrant's been approved. Mike, the next one.
Requesting council's approval of warrant number 252609 of the amount of $283,088 from the listed funds. Payroll for the period ended August 21st, the amount of $331,115.28. Total will be approved, $614,203.28.
Motion to approve. Alderman Shower, second by Alderman Belzak. Again, any questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Shower.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Stampanato.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
Warrant's been approved. Mike, do you just want to read July or?
Yeah, the revenue and expenditure report, if it's okay with the council, I mean, our auditors have completed the annual audit and they came to the finance committee tonight to discuss it, and we'll be bringing that forth. They'll be doing the presentation at the first meeting in October, where we'll be discussing that, but we have the final numbers, so I'm able to do the first 3 months monthly report here. So I'd like to just do July, which summarizes those 3 months, in the mood of expediency here. So for the month of July, revenue expenditure, general fund shows year-to-date revenue $6,432,673. Expenses of $4,775,819. Current fund balance $7,456,841. Water depreciation fund, year-to-date revenue $1,263,278. Expenses of $1,756,733. Current balance $2,716,613. Motor fuel tax fund, year-to-date revenue of $167,928. Expenses of $141,052. Current balance $626,833. And the capital improvement fund, year-to-date revenue $212,604. Expenses of $1,497,585. Current balance $20,484,949. So the only thing I'd like to add to that, I have gone through all the details, budget to actuals and everything for these several months. One thing you're gonna notice this year, I just wanted to make everybody aware of, I'm pretty comfortable with where the numbers stand at this point. But one thing you're gonna notice, there's going to be a difference this year. The amount we receive from sales tax and use tax, we budget a certain amount. And what you're gonna notice this year is the sales tax that we're receiving should exceed our budgeted amounts, while the amount we receive as use tax would be significantly under the amounts that we've budgeted. The reason for that is back at the end of last year, the state changed the way in which they classify sales tax and use tax. For those of you that don't know, you may remember back about 4 or 5 years ago, you used to be able to order something online from out of state and you never got charged sales tax. So a lot of people picked up on that. Well, then there was a Supreme Court case that says, no, if you order something from California and you're having it shipped to Illinois, you still have to pay the Illinois tax. Well, they didn't call it a sales tax, they called it a use tax. So at that time, our use tax collections actually skyrocketed. At the end of last year, the state of Illinois changed how they're categorizing those transactions. So we're still going to be getting some use tax, but the amount of use tax we're getting is going to be greatly diminished, but instead it's going to be categorized as sales tax. So for the current year, next year when we do the budget, we'll factor that in. But this year you're going to notice sales tax should be well over budget, but use tax should notice that will be under the budgeted amounts. So just wanted to give you a little heads up on that. But year to date, we're over in total on the two of those.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay. Standing committee reports?
Do the chairs have anything to report?
Alderman Lozak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Municipal Services had a meeting earlier today in which we passed the motion to approve a variance on the new Dunkin' Donuts for having a mural on their property. It is now on new business as item 5. It was passed unanimously today. It was previously passed unanimously by Planning and Zoning. So I don't know if we want to move that to the consent agenda or not.
Okay.
And our next
item
scheduled
number?
meeting,
Which item number is it?
item F can be item F on consent.
Item F, we'll move, does the council feel comfortable moving item F to item F under consent?
It's item F under new business to be
Right.
moved to consent.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Same letter.
Okay.
And then our next scheduled Municipal Services Committee meeting will be on September the 22nd at 6 p.m. in council chambers.
Mary?
Thank you, Mayor. We had an Administrative Finance Committee meeting tonight where our auditor presented a preliminary audit. As Mike indicated, they will be doing a presentation to the entire city council and public on October 6th. So that was very informative. We also unanimously voted to approve the contract extension, which is item E, under new business for our janitorial services. So I recommend that we move that up to consent agenda as well tonight.
Okay.
And our next meeting for administrative finance will be held on Monday, October 6th.
Thank you. Alderman Kenny?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, the police committee met and we approved the minutes for July 21st, 2025, and have submitted them to the clerk's office. We also voted on items that are under new business, A, B, C, and D. They passed at police committee, and I suggest that we can add those to the consent agenda as well.
So we're basically moving all the new business to the consent agenda. Anybody uncomfortable with that? Okay, that's what we'll do. I have an announcement this Saturday, September 6th. The Darien Action Committee will be meeting at the police training room at 9 o'clock in the morning. All right. That takes us to old business. Go, Michael?
No.
I have a quick question. So if we're going back to the electric bikes, is there a minimum output for the motor?
Yes, here's, the wattage on a e-bike is capped at 750 watts. Which, depending if it's class 1 and 2, it's, maximum speed of 20 miles an hour, class 3, maximum speed is 28. And, you saw some of those e-motorcycles, they're up in the 40 mile an hour zone, or higher. Those are significantly over than 750 watts.
Michael learned tonight that he can't have an e-bike till he's 16 years old.
That's right.
Mom was sitting with me when I told her that. I think we saved you some money there. All right. Takes us to old business. We have no old business. Takes us to consent agenda. Please bear with me as I read all these things. Item A, consideration of a motion granting a waiver of the $50 a day fee for the Class J temporary liquor license for the Darien Swim and Recreation Club. Item B, consideration of a motion to grant a waiver of the raffle license bond requirement for the Darien Women's Club, a Class A license. Item C, consideration of a motion to grant a waiver of the raffle license bond requirement for the Darien Women's Club, a Class B license. Item D, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance approving a variation from the Darien zoning code for 7800 Cass Avenue. Item E, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property owned by the city of Darien for the administration department. Item F, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance granting a variation to allow the placement of a painted sign mural, Inspire Brands Incorporated at 7100 Route 83 in Darien. Item G, consideration of a motion approving a contract extension year 5 with Eco Clean Maintenance Incorporated to provide janitorial services for the city of Darien in an amount not to exceed $31,400. Item H, consideration of a motion for the expenditure of budgeted funds to replace worn and damaged cabinets, sinks, etc. in the evidence room in the amount of $22,979. Item I, consideration of a motion accepting the expenditure of equitable sharing funds not to exceed $12,000 to enter into an agreement with Industrial Organizational Solutions to conduct testing to establish an eligibility list from which to hire police officers to fill anticipated openings. Item J, consideration of a motion accepting the expenditure of budgeted funds to enter into a 3-year agreement with Crisis 24 Incorporated for the purpose of updating the public notification system in the amount of $15,031. And item K, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property owned by the city of Darien, specifically the police department. Motion to approve, Alderman Stompanato, seconded by Alderman Kenny, and the roll.
Stompanato,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
A very lengthy consent agenda has been approved. There is no new business. We move to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen have anything they'd like to share? Alderman Belzak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to let everyone know that the third annual Oktoberfest will take place this year on October 4th. It will be at Westwood Park. There will be music acts, bingo, bouncy house for the kids, face painting, and there will be German food and German beer served. So hope everyone can make it.
Anyone else? I'd like Mary.
I think there's someone in the audience that was raising her. Oh, okay.
I'd like to announce that last Tuesday night, April Padlick and I met with the Board of Education of District 86, and we proposed to them that we hold the 2026 Darien Fest on Clarendon Hills Road in front of the high school. We would close it off at Elm. We would close it off at 75th Street. The carnival would go into the student parking lot, and the vendors would all go on the street. And the reason for that is next year the park is going to be under construction, so Westwood Park would be unavailable to us next year. The school board informally went around, and all the board members said they thought it was a wonderful idea. They will deal with it formally with a vote at their next board meeting, so we'll know for sure at the next board meeting. Does anybody else have anything from the audience they'd like to share?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Please come forward.
Come to the podium.
Thank you. I just want to thank the officer for putting together the slideshow with all the safety information about the e-bikes and motorcycles. Will that slideshow be shared on a website for parents to view and show their children?
I think it goes on as part of the
Packet.
recording. Do they zone in on the presentation or just the presenter?
I will have to check, cause it depends.
Just like if we could have access to that slideshow, just to see the facts that were
Could I suggest that a link to it be put on Direct Connect this week? So that it's more consolidated?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the audience? If not, can I have a round of applause for Michael? When we adjourn, I'm going to ask his family to come forward. We'll get a picture of Michael and myself, and then we'll get a picture of the whole family. So I have a motion to adjourn. Alderman Shower, second by Alderman Kenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.